Hello and welcome to the Near and Queer to My Heart podcast. I'm your host, Amanda G. Happy 2023. I'm so excited to be kicking this year off with a fabulous episode with Justice Singleton. Justice and I met doing stand-up comedy. Justice has been on the Greetings from Queer Mountain storytelling show. Justice does drag. Justice is a screenwriter. He does it all. And I'm so excited. This is how we're kicking off our new year. Also, hope your 2023 has been good so far. Hope you set some intentions out there, some resolutions, whatever you want to do. I know you're going to achieve it this year. We're feeling so good already because 2022 is over. And that's all we really needed to know. I'm really excited about this episode. This is one of those really cool ones where this is someone that I've known for years, but we sat down and talked and learned so much about each other, and it was just so cool to have that experience and to really connect with Justice in this way, and I hope y'all enjoy it too. So let's get to the episode. Let's get to Justice Singleton. What are your preferred or your pronouns?
My pronouns are he and him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
also identify as a bitch ass nigga.
Yeah. I don't like, I said preferred. I don't mean to say preferred. I got you so used to saying that, and people were like, you can't say preferred, it's just pronouns.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, fuck, I didn't think about that.
Can I ask, what are your pronouns?
She, her.
Okay, and when did you start using she, her pronouns?
They were
always
pushed
right?
on me my whole life.
Yeah.
And then when I realized that other pronouns, I could use other pronouns.
Yeah.
I don't know, just the idea never, occurred to me.
Yeah.
That I could, identify as other pronouns, and I really thought about it, and I still feel like those are my pronouns.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I had the space to think about it.
Yeah.
That I never had my whole life. It's just this is what you do. And I thought about it because growing up, a lot of people pushed, especially growing up in the 80s, people pushed girly shit on me. Mm-hmm. I'd never understood how to play with Barbies.
Yeah.
I'd look at these dolls and be like, what the fuck? What am I supposed to do with this? I didn't like dresses. I was what you would call a tomboy. I like sports. Same. I like climbing fences. I liked playing outside. I don't like crafting. Things that are traditionally identified as more feminine.
You like cats and
I do like cats, and pussy.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in that order.
Yeah, cats first.
Cats first.
Cats are first.
Depends on who's in the room.
Yeah. I feel the same way, though.
Sometimes the cats go in the other room,
When I learned about pronouns, I was like, what the fuck is this? My sibling was introducing themselves as a they, and I was like, I was really an asshole. I was like, you don't even have enough brain to be a they. I don't know what you're talking about. And then now I'm identifying he, him, and I'm trans, and I'm getting top surgery, and all this shit is changing. And I'm like, whenever a doctor is like, she, I'm suddenly turning into the pronouns I use are, when in reality, I still like to be treated like a delicate, like a lady sometimes,
Yeah, it's great that the idea of gender is changing in our society.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that because there was a lot of gender things that I was very confused by.
Yeah.
And it's good that people have terms that they can feel comfortable with. But then they're also just because I now identify as he, him doesn't mean you don't hold the fucking door.
Yeah. Or it's also a thing of when I started identifying as trans, people were dismiss 28 years of me having a vagina and having to endure periods. They're like, oh, now you're a mask. You can't hang out with the femme folks. You got to stay in your mask lane. And that was weird for me too. I was like, wait, why are we doing this if we're also not about gender in general?
Yeah. And that doesn't take away from experiences you've had in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your history. Your history is your history.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't erase, you don't just erase that.
Yeah.
It's still part of who you are.
Yeah. We are getting to know each other.
Yeah, you gonna interview me?
Yeah, I am. I am gonna interview you, if that's okay.
Sure.
When did you get comfortable on being on stage telling jokes? When was that?
So I was turning 30.
Okay.
And that's when I decided I wanted to try stand-up.
Okay.
And it was, I don't know, I'm the kind of person that I get an idea in my head one day.
Yeah.
And the next day I'm already how do I do this?
Got it. What's your sign?
Gemini. Does that track?
Nah, Geminis are awful.
Sure. Are you one of those that you're Geminis and Scorpios?
My mom's an astrologist, so my mom tells me about signs, but my mom's been telling me about signs for a really long time. And now in my real life, I see like a repetitive of personality, and like the Gemini is like, maybe you could be a Kanye Gemini, but you could also just be a Ye Gemini. Do you know what I mean? Like you could be, you could be like on it, and then you could also just be crazy and off of it. You know, like, so which one?
And we can be both, and we can hide
exactly
one or the other.
Yeah.
Sometimes we hide the crazy, and sometimes we don't hide the crazy.
Yeah.
And we hide the like kindness that's behind it.
Yeah. When you were 30, were you hiding the craziness and then decided I gotta be a comedian?
Yeah, I guess I still hide like a little bit of the crazy side because I need to function in society.
Yeah.
What sign are you?
I'm a Libra.
Okay. The scales?
Okay. Balance. And my name's Justice.
Yeah.
So that's like supposed to be like, oh yeah, you're always about balancing, but I'm always like a little off, unbalanced.
Okay, so do you feel like your sign is you?
I do feel like it's always about maintaining balance. Like I'm very peaceful. I'm very like outgoing. And then I have like do you know what a moon and a rising is? Mm-hmm. I know you're a lesbian.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. The queers know.
What am I? I'm a Gemini sun. I'm a Cancer moon, and I'm a Scorpio rising.
Oh, okay. So we actually do get along. I'm a Cancer moon too.
Okay.
And I have a rising in Cancer. And I'm a Libra.
You have a lot of like calmness.
I'm very chill. I mean, like, I'm sure you know, like, there's a huge community of comedians, and I'm like just the chillest. Like, I don't seem to get out as much as the other comedians do, but it's possibly just because I'm like very much like I'm very shelled up and like trying to get the ideas down. I feel like socially I love people, but I'm not always into like spaces, you know?
So different spaces give you different vibes?
Yeah, you know, and like when I perform, like if I go to a comedy show, sometimes I don't like people to know. So like I've been to your comedy show, Howlin' Wolf, but you didn't know. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm going and I'm like, all right, cool. And I have to check out those spaces before I'm like, all right, cool, I want to perform in those spaces.
Oh, good. So you like the space.
Yeah, no, I do. I think it's great. I think New Orleans spaces are just, they could be good, they could be weird, they could be, for like a Black person, when you go to any space in New Orleans, it's like obviously weird because somewhere around it's haunted or, you know, there's an odd vibe. And then with comedians are supposed to lighten those spaces and make it better. So for me, I'm like, if I can't do this in this area, I don't know if I want to, you know, like I have to fill it. You know?
Okay, so you think comedians make spaces better?
I think sometimes they do.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
I mean, it depends on the comedian. There's probably like a couple people who I don't know. Because I try not to also like know bad comedians.
Yeah, it's just a general life rule.
Yeah. I don't know. Coming from Los Angeles, in Los Angeles, there's so many bad comedians, and there's so many famous ones who are also really bad, and people are always like kissing ass, and I'm just like not about it. So I don't like to kiss people's ass.
Yeah, what got you into comedy?
You know, having undiagnosed ADHD got me into comedy, like being like the class clown. Talking to strangers, like just being like at a very young age able to tell jokes. And then at a certain point, I was like, oh, I can do this on stage. So I just started, I might have been like literally 18, 19, being like, I want to do comedy. And there was basically a period of time from like 18 to maybe like 24 where I was like heavily every night in a club doing comedy. And then I was like, I need a break. And then I kind of like skipped some years, and coming here, I was like, I want to do this again. I like the community, you know.
So you're from Los Angeles?
I am.
Okay.
Born and raised.
I'm from Santa Clarita.
What?
Yeah.
You're from California?
Yeah, I'm from Cali.
What?
People never believe me, but
I don't.
I hated it there. So
yeah.
I left when I was 18. I'm 39 now, so I've spent more time away.
Yeah.
I went to college in the Bay Area, but I feel like the Bay is different than LA.
Yeah, very much.
And Santa Clarita, which I've learned now as an adult, it's a very red area. It's a very Trump now area. Yeah. But as a kid, I didn't understand
anti-gay
politics and what that meant. I just felt I didn't belong there. And now I'm like, oh, that's why. Because if I had been out, they probably would have harassed me and hurt me.
Yeah. Well, did you move from California here?
Oh, I went LA, and then I was in the Bay for college, and then I went to law school in New York. Okay. And then I moved here.
Are you a lawyer?
Yeah, I'm a lawyer.
Got it. You look like a lawyer. Your house feels like lawyers, except for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 2 lawyers who got a couch on Facebook Marketplace for $25.
Yeah.
We work at nonprofits though, so
that's exactly why.
That's
exactly why.
We're the broke lawyers. I was like, see this table right here? Someone put that on next door.
Yeah.
And I was like 2 minutes later, I was like, I will leave work and pick that up.
Yeah.
Free.
What's it like when you think about just a little bit about the difference of like, I was raised in another place and now I've just lived here for so long. Do you have like memories of that? Like being in California, or is it kind of like
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the day.
Yeah.
Like some days I really miss it.
Yeah.
Like especially like if I go back and I'm like, oh, the sun's just a little brighter here, and it's nice that there's like mountains in the distance and the beach is right there.
Yeah.
And there's palm trees. And then there's traffic, and then there's, you know, restaurants that have 2-hour waits for no fucking reason, and you can't park anywhere.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh yeah, this is why I left.
This is why I left. It takes time.
Yeah, like my commute is like 5 to 7 minutes in New Orleans. I can park easily. Like I never have any problem getting around places. Everyone here's friendly. Yeah. In LA, if you're not somebody, or if you don't know somebody, or you're not connected to somebody, you're a nobody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And I grew up like that, actually. I grew up where like everyone I knew someone. Yeah. And it was like, wasn't until I left, because I always traveled around and moved places, but it wasn't until I left that I realized that, like, not everyone lives this way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, where in LA did you grow up?
I grew up, like, this area called Baldwin Hills, which is, like, there's a reality show about it. It's, it's, like, literally called the Black Beverly Hills. And then my mom also lived all over LA and Hollywood. Okay. And I guess, you know, you may or may not, but both of my parents are in industry. Okay. So like I grew up actually knowing what it was like to be in that or to be in film or TV industry. Okay. And that was weird.
Can I ask what your parents do in the industry?
My mom manages actors and
you got to see that side of things.
Yeah, and my dad directed movies. Okay. So I had like a both of watching my dad work on sets, and then now watching my mom like very much be a more active manager, and me being I'm a writer, so I'm kind of observing it all, and then also like calling them out because I'm like, some of this shit is just really fucked up, you know. Yeah. It was I had a great childhood because I have like a very spoiled, I think it's spoiled eye, and now I'm kind of like, but that's not the way I want to live, you know, not most of my life, you know. Yeah. How old were you? Do you remember like the first time you were ever on set somewhere? 4. Do you remember it? Yeah. It was on a set of a movie called Rosewood. I know that movie. Yeah, and it was a slave movie, and I was so young, but the movie Ving Rhames? Yeah, the movie was like on a train track, or the set was on train tracks, so I got to see a moving train. It was near train tracks, so I got to see the train move, and I was so young, but I remember the feeling of being at night and like being able to be on an old train and seeing all these people dressed up. So like have little memories. And I'm gonna ask this because sure. in college I'm like obsessed with classic movies. Yeah. I like love the way movies are made. I love that someone's idea in their brain went on paper, and then someone else took that and is directing it, and there's someone who's, you know, scouting locations and someone who's deciding if this person's right. Like it's so amazing to me what comes from like an idea of a person that it becomes this movie. But like in college I wanted to study movies, but I was so worried that if I studied movies that I would hate them. Yeah. Like because as a kid there's part of this like fantasy. Like we see these movies and we think that they're real, and maybe there's a unicorn out there, and maybe you know, Casper the Friendly Ghost will come and play with you when you have no friends. Like, you know, like did that ruin like your love for the arts because you got to kind of see how this sauce was made? Whoa. Wow. Okay, so there's 2 parts of it. As a young person, like nothing was cooler than going to movie sets. It made the fantasy more fantasy because it was like, here's this place where people are moving. There's so many moving parts. And as a young person, you don't have to do shit. You don't have to, you just watch it. You just eat it crafty and fucking eat all the food you want to eat. Like, I was spoiled. I was like, wow, I want to do this as a job. And then when you go and you like kind of, because I got out of college from studying screenwriting to working on set in Georgia, in Atlanta. And immediately when I was thrown back into it, I was like, wait, this is still kind of a fantasy, but like fantasy in not the greatest way. Like, I think when people are making movies, they really don't care a lot about human rights. And a lot of the pieces become less about like, again, you said it's an idea, you know, into people making that idea. And you realize that those two parts, the idea, the writing, the production, the actual direction, editing, like all these parts of it change. So you never really have the original idea. Yeah. And that's crazy. Because sometimes like you'll watch movies and you'll be like, wow, like that movie was great. And then you'll see the original idea and you'll be like, okay, but that's not actually how the script looks like, you know?
Yeah, or sometimes it's the reverse. You see like your favorite actress and you're like, what a shit movie. Why would you make this movie? And then you like read the script or you read about how what the original concept and you're like, oh yeah, I would have signed up for that. Yeah. Like that sounds amazing. Like what happened in this process? And it's because like it goes, not only does it go through like hundreds of people essentially and this whole like editing and filming process, but it goes through generally like a studio and promotion and that's whatever's trendy at the time. And, you know,
movies are bad now because of studios. Yeah, like, they just are. And I think studios even know they are, which is why we're in a place where there's less studios, but there's just so much more content. They're like, actually, we realize we can make as much shit as we want, and we realize we can also make as much good shit as we want. Like, it's just endless.
I think about that, too, because back in the day, there was, like, 3 main movie studios. Yeah. And they each made, like, 4 movies a year. Yeah. So people just watched all the movies, but they picked, like, the best of the best. Yeah. Because they only had the resources to make limited things. And then now you could just film stuff really quickly, really cheaply, get it out there. Yeah. Netflix will probably buy it, if not Amazon or Hulu or Paramount or someone or Peacock. Like, someone will buy it.
I literally think film and TV, if you think about streaming, maybe more TV than film, is the new porn. You know, like, all the Valley people were like, I want to get a real job in a real studio. And they were just like, let's just stop making porn. Let's go fuck up somebody else's genre.
I could see that because we now scroll through like movies the way we scroll through porn. Yeah. We're like, I'm not in the mood for that. Like, you start watching it and you're like, no, that's not what I want right now.
I watch True Blood. I watch like old HBO movies or like, I just think about that and being like, wow, it's so different than getting ready to have like a very serious cinematic experience, you know? Yeah. But I'm not disillusioned as an artist at all. I think I'm the opposite. Now I'm like I'm the 30, so I'm the young one. But I'm the person who's like, wow, I really have not lived my life in the industry. I've lived my life observing it. I've lived my life part of it in very minor ways. But like now I'm like in a very confident place of being like, I want to be a optimist about creation, you know? Yeah. Not just a person who's like, yeah, I want to make a movie to make money. Like, I actually want to tell stories, you know?
Yeah, and you said you're a screenwriter. Yes. So, have you written anything that you're trying to get out there right now?
Every screenwriter has written something they're trying to get out there.
Because some people are like me. I'm a screenwriter in my head where I have a lot of great ideas, but I've never like sat down and actually written them.
Yeah. No, I have to write. I came out to New Orleans after my dad passed away. And when he passed away, I was like, I fuck the film industry. I don't want to do this anymore. And then I started to be like, but I'm really good at it. So I took some time off and then I started writing pilots and features again. And I wrote a lot. I wrote a little bit before I think he passed, but now it's like my day-to-day job is to get things done and get things out there and produce and make content, you know? I didn't really give a fuck about that prior, you know? You get caught up, you know?
And how is it, because pretty sure I know who your dad is at this point.
Yeah, his name is Johnson.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't know if you wanted to talk about it, but I was like, when she said Rosewood, I was like, okay. Yeah. I should have put 2 and 2 together because I knew your last name. But yeah, I guess I was going to ask, like, how is it, because your dad is super famous and he's done some amazing shit. Like, did you ever feel like you're in his shadow or there was like a need to break away from that? Or was it just honoring like the family? Like, this is what you were raised in and this is what the family loves? Or like, how do you, like, does that matter to you?
Yeah, well, the question gets really, like, the simple answer is I definitely still feel in the shadow, but not in the shadow of what he's done as a artist. It's more of what he's done as a person. It's really cliche, but like in the idea of transitioning and becoming like a quote black man or whatever, I think of like what type of person do I want to be, and I look at my father as like, I don't know if I want to be that, or maybe I do want to be like take pieces of it. So I look at that and being like, will I be able to? He united a lot of people. He was a very big presence. Do I want to be a big presence in people's lives? In terms of an actual artist, or like no one could have been or will be John Singleton.
Yeah.
And I think I always knew that very young because he told me so. He was like, no one can be me. He was like, I came out of school as a football player. I was drafted and easily. It's a once in a lifetime story. It's the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory story of a black man. So I was like, fuck no, I'm not doing that. I'm not in a rush. And then my family very much was connected by him, and I carry some of that, but I'm trying to like get rid of some of that just to unburden myself and be like, who the fuck am I?
Because part of it, like it could hold you back because it could be like tying you down essentially, but it could also, be a way to understand and connect to things in like a different, unique way that not everybody has.
Yeah. So, but what other questions? Because I know you got questions. Everyone has asked.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So, LA, where did you go to college?
I went to Loyola Marymount University. Okay. It's like
it's pretty.
Yeah, it's
pretty.
Gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
It's religious.
Yeah, it's funny because when I came here and I was like, I went to Loyola. They were like, oh, you went to Loyola? And I didn't know there was a Loyola in New Orleans.
Yeah, there's like 6 of them. There's like one in
Chicago.
Chicago.
There's like one in Chicago. The school was very like white, gorgeous. I only really went there because I thought I didn't get into one of my favorite schools, which was Bard College. It was like upstate New York college.
That sounds more like you.
Yeah, I think everyone says that. They had like
it's smaller. It's more like theater and that kind of basis.
Well, they had an arts department. I was a really history nerd, and they had like an art history program that was cool. And then like they were surrounded by a forest in upstate New York. I was obsessed. And you don't have to hide this part, but my dad hid my acceptance letter.
Oh shit!
Isn't that fucking crazy?
I was gonna ask you how you thought you didn't get it. I was like, like they tell you.
No, he hid it from me, and I was like,
he didn't want you to go so far away.
I don't fucking know. I still don't know to this day.
Shit.
When I was moving out of the house that he lived in, I found my acceptance letter in a drawer, and I was like, can I still go? Like, and it was like literally 8 years or 9 years.
You're like,
later.
how long is this valid?
I know. I'm like, but I don't regret schools and where I went, because I'm also like, college is what it is. I think you're supposed to go to college for 4 years and then again do what you're doing. Like maybe you had a law degree or whatever. Me personally, I'm just a little too lazy to be in class sessions, Now
that's one thing, like, as an adult looking back, I realized, like, I always thought, like, you go to college. Like, you graduate high school, you go to college. That's what my parents drilled into me.
Yeah.
It wasn't an option for me.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, even though I would have been an adult and I could have made my own decisions,
yeah,
I'm glad I went at the time, but now it's like, was that the step that I needed to take to get me, where I am? And I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's not for everybody.
No. And
it's not bad or good if you go. It's just whatever your path is in life. For some people, like, college takes away from, like, if they're trying to experience, if they want to do something where they just need to get out there and experience it and get that, like, the experience of whatever field it is, they should just do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think college should just be free, and that way you can decide when and how you go. And that's kind of the thing, is like, usually a lot of families are like, you got to go now, we're ready to spend this money, we saved up. It's like capitalism being like, we want you to save $20,000 so you can spend it on this child who's never gonna pay you back. Like, fuck that, or whatever the amount is.
I was like, 20,000, maybe 20 years ago.
I look back now and I'm like, man, if my dad would have given me that money, I probably would have made my first movie.
That's what I'm saying. You could have taken that and produced a whole fucking movie.
Yeah.
Traveled around the world. Like, there's so many get experiences to write another movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
or spend it on drugs
and get experiences to write a movie.
Exactly.
You know, how long were you at Loyola?
I was there for 4 years.
Okay, so you did the 4.
I did the 4. I wasted the last semester taking like electives because I was always in summer school. I thought I was gonna graduate early, and then the last semester I was like, I want to take bullshit classes and be here more.
Yeah, because what happens after? That's why I went to law school, really, because like college, you know, I'm turning 22. Yeah. College is ending, and I'm like, what's this real world?
What are you gonna do?
Like, what the fuck? I'm just gonna go to more school.
Yeah, yeah. And I was gonna do that too, but it's like for film, people are always about this thing, and this is what's toxic about the industry is filming is very much like they either tell you to go to college or they tell you to make an independent film, right? But if you go to 4 years, they go, you learned enough, get in the industry. But it depends on what you're into. Like for me, I didn't learn. They didn't teach me how to be a screenwriter. I kind of already knew how to be a screenwriter. I think if I would have even extended my 4 years, I would have went to a history or another sort of elective to be like, okay, I got that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because I think there's never enough learning. And once you get in the industry, it's always there. It is always there. People are like, you can't put it down and you can't pick it back up. I think you can.
Yeah. People do it all the time.
Yeah.
So what happened after college? You graduate?
Yeah, I graduated. I came to Atlanta.
You went right to Atlanta?
Yeah, I like maybe waited a month and then worked on a movie called Selma, the Ava DuVernay movie. And then I went to New Orleans, and then I did like the first 21 Jump Street or some shit. New Orleans, yeah, for like literally a week, 2 weeks.
Okay, yeah, they did film it there because Channing Tatum bought a bar on Bourbon Street.
Really?
Yeah. I forgot what it's called. Yeah, he owns one of the bars on Bourbon Street.
Wow. Yeah, so...
Which makes sense for Channing Tatum, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, so I, like, did that and was like, that's cool. I want to go to LA. I miss my dog. I want to be out here. And even, honestly, from most of these years, I could say it was a lot of being me. Like, I'm a writer, but I didn't know what I wanted to write. You know, like, I had features that were, like, adventure movies and, like, I really liked history, so I was writing a lot of things that, like, I loved in history and kind of playing with the fantasy of things. But none of it was, like, soulful or real. And I was kind of like, what am I doing? And I think I pretty much would say that I was working on set for, like, 5 years between after that, 4 or 5 years.
And then what got you to New Orleans?
Woo! That's the story.
It's always a story. How did you get to New Orleans? Everyone's like, let me tell you.
Let me ask you. Did you get into New Orleans because of a relationship with a person?
Yes, I did.
There you go. Everyone got into New Orleans because of a relationship with a person. I wouldn't say I moved here because of the person. They were a huge part of it. And when I moved here, I was like, I know I'm going to get a new environment. I know I'm going to have like 1 or 2 friends that I might know of. And I know I'm going to get some pussy. Like, I needed that, LA had shown me that it wanted me to get out, and I was being forced out. There was a spiritual energy that was like, you gotta get out, or else I really didn't think I was going to survive that.
Yeah. I can see that with LA. And then I'm going to ask you, this is a question we ask everybody, and it's going to sound like 50,000 questions, but like they're all tied together, and I think I have to ask them all at once.
Okay.
It's basically, and you might have 2 different coming out journeys.
Okay, got it.
But I call it the coming out journey, where it's like, when did you come out to yourself? Mm-hmm. When did you come out to like friends and family and close, people that you know? Yeah. And then when were you out publicly, at work, on stage, in your writing, in interviews, however that plays out like to the world. Yeah.
Coming out is like levels and levels and levels. So
yes.
I totally understand that. I think if I'm being honest, I came out when I was like in preschool or kindergarten because I like fingered this girl on my birthday.
Damn.
Yeah, so I was already like out, right? But then I didn't really mess around or do anything like seriously with intent until like really college. And then in college, my thing was I had a crush on someone, and my mom was so used to like helping me buy clothes and stuff to like look cute. And I said, Mom, I got to buy something because I really like this girl. And my mom was like, what? And I told my dad, and my dad was like, just don't let women distract you from your studies. And
that's such a dad thing to say.
I know. He was very much like, I was like, what? And I'm like, he's saying this because that's probably how he felt, you know?
I also think a lot of dads are relieved.
Yeah.
You know, like, I feel like my dad was relieved when I was like, I'm gay. And he's like, thank God I don't have to deal with fucking dudes knocking on my daughter's door.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I feel like he's like, I can handle this in a different way. And I prefer that.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad was definitely like, I'm one out of 7 kids.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So, like, 2 of us are going to be gay.
Where are you in the order?
I'm the oldest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of funny. I'm the oldest trans kid. I'm the first one, and I'm trans, which means the rest of them are going to be, like, gay and trans too or something. You know, like, there's going to be a couple, like, cisgender ones, but they're going to be worse. Probably one's an alien. You know, we don't even know.
How old's the youngest?
4.
Holy shit.
He had a kid right like a year before he passed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a big age range.
It's real age range.
How is it to have a sibling so young?
You know, it's weird because it's like when I'm 50, it will be in its prime of its 30s. Like, that sucks. Like,
it's weird.
That. I really don't like that. I like to think of myself as a little bit of a single sibling or a single child because I know all my siblings and they know me, but we don't have like a day-to-day relationship. We know of each other. Black people in Black communities, shout out. We all have one where we're like, yeah, my daddy got 4 kids on his side, and I got one sibling. You know, I'm one sibling of my mother's, and then 6 of my father's. So it's just different, you know. But then, okay, the coming out thing. So I told my mom, told my dad, very kind of easy. I would say the next chapter of my coming out was probably last year, because that was the year I was like having all these dreams, and I was like, holy fuck. Remember I told you my sibling was talking about they? I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And my sibling's answer to that was like, I don't understand why you don't understand pronouns. You're trans. And I was like, what the fuck what are you talking about? Because I always asserted transgender people towards trans women, except for Chaz Bono, shout out. That's like really the only one I had maybe like 10 years ago was Chaz Bono. Like, yeah, as like a trans mass person. That's kind of crazy.
And the way the media because Cher was so fucking cool. Yeah. Is cool.
Still is cool. Yeah. You know? So.
And the media is not cool.
Yeah. So, you know, maybe last year, I think it was like May or March, I was like, oh my God, I know who I am. And I came out again actually at a birthday party. It was a 4-year-old or 5-year-old's birthday party of my aunt's. And I came out at the family birthday party. It was like, I'm transitioning as a man. And it was like right in front of Elsa from Frozen. And that was the realest coming out I ever had. That woke me the fuck up. It was.
Were you on a microphone for this, or are you just telling people?
No, everyone just had a glass of red wine at a park, you know, and it was a park in San Jose. So you know how white that shit is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it was like 3 Black people, including myself, and then extended family who were Hispanic and white, and I was like, wow.
How was that?
Awful. It was awful. It was bad because I was alone, and the rest of the weekend was spent in a nudist resort. So like one part of me was like coming out and was like, I should be happy about this, and the other part of me was like at a nudist resort where I should be very comfortable in my body. And then suddenly I was like, I'm not comfortable in the body now, you know? Because, like, when you're identifying as a queer woman, you're like, I get it. I got, you know, titties and a pussy. And then when you're identifying as a he and him, and you're like, I'm a man, it really just changes your brain, and you go like, but I don't look like and I don't feel like it. Mm-hmm. So, like, I still was naked at the nudist resort, don't get me wrong. But I very much, a person who's used to being naked, realized that my body does not look like what I had imagined it would suddenly look like when I came out, you know? And that's the coming out that have had for the last year and change, because I perform drag, and I do talk about it on stage, and it's just a constant of like, I identify as a bitch ass nigga, because I know that's what I'll always be, you know?
And that won't change.
That won't change. And that I've like accepted that.
And that's why we asked the coming out question, because it is an evolution. And sometimes, you know, people, it's happened and they're 10 years ago and they're at the same place, and sometimes it's different and it changes. And, you know, some people come out and then kind of go back in, and and there's no way. That's why I'm like, I'm going to ask you like 50,000. Like there's no, and it's not always linear. Yeah. It's not always like I did A and then B and then C. It's like sometimes I did A and then X and then back to D, and, you know, it's just, it's however that process is.
Yeah. And it's weird too, because if you would have asked me 10 years ago in college if I would identify as a man, I would have probably been more convinced. But if you would have asked me 5 years ago if I identify a man, I would have been like, no. Because when I was in college, you're learning about gender and sex and intersexuality. I wasn't yet out, right? I was still like, I guess I'm a woman who likes a woman, you know? But if everyone would have been like, no, actually, you're more trans, I would have been like, yes, I'm more trans. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
But I got used to being a queer woman and used to presenting my gender to another woman, right? But that was never really what I identified with, you know? So 5 years ago, I probably would have been like, get the fuck out of here. I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, I know how to strap, but that's, what do you think? You know? Like,
yeah, no, and it's interesting too, because since I've known you and seen you perform, like, you've always seemed very comfortable with like who you are. Like, that's one of the things I like about your performance, and also just off stage, like when we're just talking, like you say what you mean what you say, like you don't mince words, you don't like you just seem like you're comfortable with who you are.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Isn't it funny how like people's perspectives is so like different? Like you seem confident and comfortable in who you are, but like we all know that like most comedians think they're pieces of shit and have so much identity issues. You know, like we're all like, oh, am I good enough? Am I good enough? Am I good enough? I gotta get on stage and just talk shit and then feel good enough, right? I feel that way. I feel like sometimes I'm like questioning all the time, like, am I good? Am I trying? Am I this? Getting on stage used to just be about a little bit of validation. Now it's less about validation, and now it's more about, it's almost like community talk, where I'm like, I wonder if anyone else feels the way I feel. Not like I want you to validate my feelings, but do you feel the way I feel?
I mean, comedy also, I think there's like a trajectory with comedy. Like when you first do it, I feel like it's different than when you're like 5 years in, 10 years in, 20 years in. I feel like the more I do it, the more there's like a message I want to get through. Yeah. And there's like something more I want to communicate than just to make people laugh. But at first, it's the idea that like I'm bringing joy to people, like something that that I thought of, and I figured out how to say it in a funny way, and it connects with people, and we can all laugh, and afterwards people will talk to me, and it feels great. Yeah. It's like we all just did this uplifting thing. It was a little small thing. It's not going to change the world, but it's going to make everyone's night good. Yeah. Yeah. And then it's like, after doing like queer material, you'll have people come over, they'll tell you their coming out stories, they'll tell you, you know, this is my girlfriend, my partner, and this is what we went through. I've had people like, my brother just came out to me, what do I say? You know, and then you have these moments and you're like, oh, I'm connecting with them on a surface, but I could go deeper. Mm-hmm. But I also need to be funny. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of that combination. But I feel like the more you do it, there's like different things that you're looking to get out of it.
Yeah. I think it's definitely that. In LA, it's odd to say this because I don't want this to be like a thing where I'm like, this is where I perform. Mm-hmm. But in LA, I learned that there are the Comedy Store and there's Comedy Improv, and there are places that are just hole in the walls, and we all know these. I learned that I really love intimacy now. Like I like the amount of people that are in the room, but sometimes I'm just like, if there's 8 people, that's great. Yeah. If there's 9 people, that's great. And I think it made me realize that because the bigger the room, the less intentional message deep I'd like to deliver. Sometimes I just end up on stage just fucking around, like not even saying anything completely like intentional, right? Yeah. And then sometimes I get that like 7 to 8 reading, and I'm like, oh, great. Like I got 4 minutes to go into like my really funny abortion story, you know? And I realize now, like, that was a reflection very much of like, okay, at that age, telling 40 people that abortion story would have scared the fuck out of me. But now, if I see 40 people, I'm like, oh, I gotta tell them that abortion story, or how I fucked in front of a ghost, or Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you get comfortable with the message.
And you also, like, the more you do it, which you
Yeah.
touched on, is like you learn to read the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what you're doing. Like, you see a room and you're like, okay, even though I plan to do this material, this is what the vibe is of the room, so I'm going to adjust.
Yeah.
And sometimes people, you can tell they want to interact. They want you to talk to them. And sometimes you can tell people absolutely do not want you to talk to them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just feeling that vibe out and going with it. Because that's what, everyone's there to have a good time.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people when they're scared. I'm so scared. It's like, everyone's here to have fun. They're here to support you. Like, they came to sit here and watch you talk on a microphone. They're not out to get you.
Yeah. And that's why I'm like, well, first of all, thank you for letting me be on your show. I think I realized when you said about me being comfortable in myself is it's a lot of me realizing that you should be going out and performing to have just a good time, you know? And like, that's like, let's just do it. Let's just go out and let's do it. Let's have a good time. I think I definitely feel like, and maybe it's just because I've only been here for 3 years, but also like 2020 was not a real year.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
so
just erase it from the history.
We don't erase it. So maybe like 2 years. But as I've been here, I've been trying to get more comfortable into the presence and the community of people. And I have a lot of moments of me being like, to be honest, really scared and having anxiety about having a good time, of like, just let go and be, you know, instead of being like, what do I have to worry about? You know, is it good enough? What is, you know, like, you think I'm comfortable in my stuff, but sometimes I'm just in my skin and I'm like, you know?
Yeah, we all have those moments. And maybe it's just outwardly, you know, people project things outwardly that are sometimes not necessarily aligned with how they're currently feeling. And sometimes it is a fake it till you make it situation.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I'm in a shit mood and something bad happened, and I would say, because my last girlfriend, like, sometimes she probably didn't do this on purpose, but like every once in a while she'd get really fucking mad at me like 2 minutes before I got on stage.
Really?
Yeah, like, we get in these like blowout fights, and then I'd have to like wipe the tears, turn around, and get on stage and entertain people that might not, like, outwardly I'm gonna be happy and do my jokes the way I do them, but inwardly I'm fucking pissed off, or, you know, hurt, or however I'm feeling in that moment.
Shit in that moment, or were you just
no, I would never.
You're a good person.
Yeah.
Good person. Whenever
Sure. Thank you.
I'm a comedian who, when I have a very bad date, I'm gonna tell someone about it.
Yeah.
You know, if someone pisses me off, I gotta talk about it. Not even like to talk directly about that person, no names or anything, but just about like, hey, am I tripping? That's like the tagline of my life. Am I tripping?
Here's your special.
Yeah. I know I could do that. Am I tripping as a special?
Yeah.
Because I am tripping. I'm a very clumsy person. I make mistakes.
That's why it's a perfect title. And that would get if I was flipping through Netflix, am I tripping? I need to find out.
Yeah.
Are you tripping over something? Or, you know, it's like, let's figure this out. You
know, and everyone else, well, the truth of the matter is like, I am tripping, and so is everyone else. Everyone else is tripping every day. We're all fucking up, and it's normal, you know?
That's human. We're humans.
Yeah. I think we forget about that. Like, when you think about, like, celebrities and comedians that make mistakes, they're all, like, I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong, but I'm saying, like, people are fucked up. Like, we forget, like, even the people that we may, like, admire or like, or our parents, are fucked up people.
Yeah.
I think we need to start saying, like, humanity is fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, we know slavery is fucked up. We know America's fucked up. But humanity, our humanness, is fucked up. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you really want to break it down, and this is probably a whole other podcast.
Yeah, sorry.
We're like put on this earth, like, to survive as long as we can.
Yeah.
Like, that's our goal, and that's going to be selfish at a lot of points.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's your goal, is just for you to survive in this body as long as you humanly possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I ask, so are you in a relationship now?
I am dating casually.
Okay, casually dating. Got it.
In therapy, figuring out what I want.
Come on now, high five.
You know, trying to take my time, because I do the lesbian thing where I meet someone and like a month later we're moved in. And, you know, my last girlfriend, we were together 5 years. A month and a half in, we're saying I love you. 2 months in, she moves in. 6 months in, we buy a house together.
Wow.
And then we're like in this thing.
Yeah.
And we're, you know, and then COVID happened, and we're really in this thing.
Yeah.
And so this time around, I'm really trying to look at, like, what I want and need, and is this working, and
Yeah.
am I not just trying to like be with someone to be with someone?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm trying to do all that. And I know you're in a relationship, right?
Yeah, I am. It's very interesting. I always thought that I would be like, quote unquote, slim dick daddy, and like just like be like player it out. Not player it out because I'm a lover. I love people. I love relationships too. But I never really thought I'd be like not even the U-Haul lesbian. I just didn't think I'd be like a stable person in a relationship. And I'm not a stable person, but the person I'm with is a stable person. And
yeah, y'all are cute.
It's been chill. It's been cool. It's definitely been like if we're talking about like queerness, it's been like, let us not U-Haul, let us be intentional. We like made surveys for each other every month. We exchange surveys every other month of like, how's our relationship going? How did you feel about this date?
I love that.
No,
yeah.
Take this idea, yo. It saves all relationships from even like, okay, this is where it's going. Like, oh, this is where our issues are. And I feel like, when U-Haul people are like, we're going to get married, we got kids. I feel really good about this relationship because we are like, yeah, we are going to get married, but we're not going to get married any goddamn time soon. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, and we're having like real like, yeah, calm down, bitch.
Well, that's what I was like. Yeah, with marriage, I always, when people like meet and 2 months later they're engaged, I'm like, what's the rush? Like, you're getting married means you're spending the rest of your life together. Yeah, you have the rest of your life. To do this, but yeah, a lot of people. So that sounds great. Yeah. Whose idea was the surveys? That's super cute.
It was my idea, actually. Okay. Yeah, because they are an organizer. They like data, and I was like, I want them to know I'm a writer. I want to ask them questions. I may not be comfortable asking them these questions about their boundaries or sex things or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then we started making it like, what's the next date you'd like to go on? Okay, I'd like to go to the sculpture garden and paint. I'm like, great, that's our next date. It just helps me go like, I need honesty. I'm a very honest person. Mm-hmm. I don't like lying. I don't like being dishonest or disloyal, and that doesn't mean like about like cheating or whatever. It just means like disloyal is being dishonest, Yeah. So I was like, let me make this romantic. And I asked sexy questions in the survey too.
Well, of course. Why are you going to have a survey if you're not going to have sexy questions?
No, it's got to be sexy. So, but that was my way of saying like, I want to make this the best relationship,
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, like the word intentional is so important. Like, one thing I'm learning in therapy, I'll share this and then we'll wrap it up because we got a show tonight. I do the thing in the beginning where I just want this person to like me so bad that I put on, it's me, but it's not all of me. I put on my best face. I let things go that I don't really let go, but outwardly I do because I just want them to like me. Yeah. And now I'm trying to be intentional of like, that's not healthy because in all fairness to them, I presented this idea of me that they liked, but that wasn't all of me. Yeah. And that's not fair to them. Yeah. That's fucked up. Yeah. And it's not honest.
Yeah. It's because we grew up as queer people, rejection. So if we're out and open about who we are quickly, then we fear that that's going to happen to us again.
Because society already did that for us, like my whole fucking life.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. Yeah. I mean, but the other thing is you got to think like someone like you, like, I mean, I'm just saying, put it out there. You got a job, you got a house. You're out and on stage, like, believe it or not, you're like, you could be honest and open about what your shit is because you're pretty much like prime queer property, You have 2 cats. I think there's a lot of people who may have it even like you, but are like not open or not, like even more like, I think you have to realize like you can afford to be vulnerable. You can. But there's people who like may like not have the situation that you have, or even not even economics, just like
the support system.
Yeah, the support system, right? And they're like, I really can't afford it because if I don't, like, I have a friend who's very, very not vulnerable, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that they don't have the support system. So I think you like rely on like, even if I'm vulnerable, if I say this thing and I may get rejected, okay, fuck it, I got these things, that's fine. Yeah. It's hard though.
It is. That's the thing. It is hard, and it's an everyday thing, and it's work. And now that I've been in therapy like 3-ish months now, and I'm like actually putting the work in. I think before I was like, I could just go online and do like read an article and do whatever exercise there is, and it's like, no, I go every single week. Now the first month it was her kind of getting to know me. And then
Yeah.
after that, it's me being like, here's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And she'll give me assignments, and then I'll come back and do them. And
Mm-hmm.
then, and I feel better. Like, my
Yeah.
whole life feels better.
Yeah, introspective. You look better.
Thank you.
I don't know if you looked before, but I think you look better. I feel a different vibe anyway.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Because I am living my life more honestly
Yeah.
and more with intention and
Yeah.
not hiding. And I think because, like you hit the nail on the head, like I spent so much of my life hiding.
Yeah.
I was just talking about that today where like I crave intimacy
Yeah.
in a way because I didn't have that growing up. And
Mhm.
part of it was I was so scared people would think I was gay
Mm-hmm.
that even like if a friend that was a girl would hug me,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, I don't hug. You
Yeah.
know? Like even when you came over today, you're like,
Yeah.
do you hug? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I love hugs and I always
Yeah.
loved hugs. And 20 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have told you I didn't.
Yeah. Well, what's even crazier is like gay is in.
Yeah.
Like I'm anti-hetero. When people are like, hey, let's hug, no hetero. Like I'm into that. I'm into like being like more gay, more queer love than being more hetero, more cis versus like everyone knows that hetero relationships are tight as fuck because they know queer people because they're fucking another queer person. You know what I mean? Like we're in a space where we can do this work of being open because there's like a different vibe we're riding on where people are like, we want you to be more gay, we want you to be more yourself.
More authentic.
You know? Yeah, exactly. But this is great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah. Well, follow me on DA Real Poetic Justice. That's Da Real Poetic Justice. And I'm also on Twitter, but I'm probably gonna quit soon because of the Elon Musk thing.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, I'm mostly that, and I think it's time to stop watching Twitter porn. But yeah, please follow me on Instagram where I do comedy and drag.
And we'll post it in our liner notes. Thanks so much, Justice. This was so much fun.
I'm so glad that I came.
Yeah.
You're really cool.
We could do like 15 more episodes.
We really could talk a lot. Yeah. I mean, and honestly, now that we can be friends, we can always get coffee and, you know, I can catch up on you when you're 6 months in therapy and you're like, what's the point now? Because you'll get into a 6 months thing where you'll be like, okay, what's the point? I'm fixed, but I'm not fixed, but I'm not fixed. I don't have to, you know.
I'm fixed, but my life's still shit. Like,
yeah.
All right.
I'm a year and a half in therapy, and I'm like, do I still keep going? And they're like, there's always some new shit.
Yeah.
But
you're like, you're still fucked up.
Yeah.
But you're doing great.
Yeah, you get introspective superpowers.
Yeah.
And then that's when shit gets great.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
No problem.
Thank you to Justice for sharing his world with us. Special thank you to Ryan Golub for our theme song. Social media with us. You can find us on Twitter at Queer to My Heart. You can find us on Insta and Facebook at Near and Queer to My Heart. We hope to see you soon. Bye.